I'm so glad to be here. The steak and the scissors.
Steak and scissors? Oh, you mean the wizard CZ and never wrong Nick Bull.
You have never hunted something like this. Don't hunt what you can't kill, fella.
So it's that kind of wrestling podcast.
I want to be the guy throwing snakes at people.
Then you found the right place. The podcast by the fan, for the fan. The card subject to change.
The surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, Mantar.
Here now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the Wizard CZ and never wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Card Subject to Change podcast. The podcast by the fan, for the fan, of course, episode 244. We'll get to that here in just a little moment, but we are live in the Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles Studios. We are Card Subject to Change. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, the best slicer pie in the area. If you're in the Davenport area, stop on by. They're the place to be for your pizza needs in the QC. I am your host, Never Wrong, Nick Bull. So glad you're here to join us for another fun-filled few moments of wrestling here. It's our episodic show, Card Subject to Change. Last night, we were in Waterloo, Iowa, doing a pre-show podcast party with our friends from Absolute Pro Wrestling. We have a performer from that show last night, and we also, somebody you've seen around here locally. We'll get to him in just a moment, but I'd be remiss if I did not introduce to you my tag team partner, my co-host. He is the one, he is the only, not the one Billy Gunn, but he is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing, bud?
Man, I'm doing good. It was a little bit of a late night last night, but a good night. I'm glad we were able to go out to Absolute Pro Wrestling. There are good friends there. Love being able to help promote their shows and be at their shows. And like you said, we've got a young man who was performing at that show last night. We'll bring him in just a moment, Nick. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm tired. The last night is catching up with me. It's Sunday afternoon, and I slept in, but I didn't get a nap. I usually like to get a little nap before the shows, but I'm not cranky or anything, but I'm tired. We'll get through this. We'll be just fine. This is a night off. We're going to talk wrestling. It's not hard. We'll get through this. And no, I'm tired, but like it hit me about 4 hours ago. Yep. It caught up with me.
Yeah, I understand that, but let's get into it. We've got a great guest, a young man who's making his way through the Midwest here, Mr. Dangerous Dominik Zagreus. Dominik, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
Great to have you here. It was great to meet you last night. We'll talk more about that in a second, but love having first-time guests in the studio. I'm going to ask every first-timer here the same question I ask all the other first-timers. Why pro wrestling? What was it for you that was like, wow, I love this?
For me personally, I think it's because it's such a like unique form of entertainment. Not really too much like it. Really, it's like kind of that electrifying atmosphere of it. Like there's, I feel like a lot of things come close to it, but nothing really gets it as close to pro wrestling.
What was it that made you decide that you had to do this? That you had to jump in the ring?
I guess I've always been a fan. Loved being a viewer, and just kind of watched as a kid and felt like I could do that. So here I am, and I'm doing it. And I kind of got that little itch for it where I did it once, and now it's like I want to do it every time.
Growing up, who did you like? Whose matches did you seek out? Some memorable matches that you liked growing up, or maybe that had an impact on you as a fan that, made you want to become a wrestler as well?
For me personally, I kind of got onto that wrestling train a little later in life, where I was like more in that middle schoolish age instead of like, catching on all that. But for me, I started watching around the Shield era. So I've always been like a huge Seth Rollins fan, unapologetically. Finn Balor, I've always loved watching amazing matches. I remember watching like AJ Styles and all that. My dad showing me that guy right before he, joined the WWE a little bit ago.
I'm glad you mentioned Finn Balor because I'll be honest. Nick and I have talked about this. You kind of give off a little bit of a Finn Balor vibe yourself. I don't know if it's your look but you look like a young Finn Balor to me.
I mean, I appreciate the compliment. Absolutely. Finn Balor is phenomenal, amazing. Definitely, I'm definitely personally inspired by him for sure. Definitely not trying to bite off his gimmick though for, personally, but definitely, there is an inspiration.
And you could see it. Like, I mean, it's not a knock. It's not like saying, oh, he completely copies him, but there's just hints of Finn Balor and in how you move in the ring and some things that you do and the way you kind of carry yourself. That's how I would, that's how I would comment it.
Oh, yeah.
Is for sure. I understand the Seth Rollins thing. You probably trained here, trained to Black and Brave. I understand that. But guys like Finn Balor, man, they don't get enough credit. Of course, AJ Styles has retirement and his Hall of Fame here coming up in a few weeks at WrestleMania weekend. But yeah, like Finn Balor is a guy that's so capable of being a top champion on either one of those shows for them. And I just feel like the time – to steal a line from John Cena, the time is now. They need to get him as the world champ as soon as they can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I know we just mentioned you trained at Black and Brave. Was that your first choice? Was it Black or Brave or Nothing, or were you looking at other places to train?
For me, it was Black and Brave or Nothing. It's kind of like growing up in the area. I'm in Dubuque, Iowa, so definitely only an hour and a half away from me. So it's super lucky just in that circumstance alone. But also just having him being like my favorite guy growing up, and then him being also from small town Iowa was that's my guy,
That makes sense.
Before you got into the wrestling school, what were your expectations going into it, and what were the actual how was that after the first few days?
Oh man. Yeah, it's a lot more, you can taste how real the air is when you're actually there, You can pretend to think about what the future will be. You don't know really what's going to be like until you're there. Definitely surreal where you're just understand that this is what I'm doing, and I'm here. I was there to absolutely prove who I was, I didn't want to go into that school and be just kind of listening. I always wanted to be, active and participating.
What was we've heard stories about that day zero. What was that like for you?
Oh man, lots of running, lots of box jumps, good amount of yelling, lots of sweat, and man, we had a kid puke, pretty quickly. Felt pretty nice though to actually pit myself against other people, that challenge of running and going and going and going.
I mean, you're in incredible shape. You take good care of yourself. So, I mean, you probably had some expectations going in. It was probably hard for you, but probably not as hard as it was for others, it sounds like.
Yeah, some people I feel don't prepare themselves enough for, what they're wanting to do. I definitely try to be prepared for most things that I can be prepared for. I did wrestling and theater and, improv in high school. Just because that's what I wanted to know. I want to do this later on in life. Might as well, put my foot in the door a little bit. So definitely just being, active currently definitely has, I think, saved me a lot with pro wrestling.
You mentioned doing theater in school. Do you think that's helped you develop who Dominik Zagreus is?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like just being around those people in theater that really know what they're doing and really understand what theater is kind of helps rub off on you a lot, where you understand the objective of what you're trying to do to convey. Just knowing what you're there for is really helpful.
And obviously, wrestling is an athletic event, but it's also performance art. You can't go to a show and not just be awed by the performance of everybody a part of it. Whether it's on the mic, whether it's in the ring, it's an experience.
I would argue, CZ, that it is because the ring is the stage. The wrestlers are the players and the crowd is interactive. It's a wonderful connection. We're speaking with Dominik Zagreus here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, episode 244, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are in the Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles Studios, bringing you the show. We are also powered by Low Pies Pizza, pizza by the slice or by the pie. in downtown Davenport, stop by if you're in the area. I want to kind of piggyback off something what CZ said about, your theater connection. You're young. You're young in the game. And what I mean by young, like we're in our mid 40s. You're a kid to us, but we understand, you're in your, are you even 21 yet?
I'm 23, so there's definitely some younger cats than me.
Okay. Okay. You're in your early 20s. You've been doing this for a little bit. When was this character that you are? When was it born? Is it something you've always kind of had in your back pocket and kind of like, hey, I'm going to use this sometime? Or is this something that's kind of just like, hey, this is new to me and I'm just kind of learning as I go? How did Dominik Zagreus come to be?
Definitely there was like those mental notes I had, since I was like, I want to say not like a kid, but like, in my younger years where I was like thinking about like that personality. The name really isn't like a super like, I guess, an incredibly deep meaning for me. I mean, Dominik is my middle name, and Zagreus being based off, the son of Hades. Also, kind of like does that from that video game of, Hades, which is like great, visually amazing game.
Sure.
I've always been a huge gamer myself, but just like the personality that I have with Dominik Zagreus is based off of like just myself being younger, kind of feeling like an outcast. Always feeling like that artsy kid in the back of the class wearing the black hoodie. Just feeling like I have my own little world by myself. So it's definitely just been that, and then just turning up that to 11, just throwing in a lot of aggression for it.
And that's how the best characters are. Yourself turned up to 11. You mentioned being a gamer. Are you? Do you play the WWE games? Are you into the WWE 2K?
Yeah, I enjoy them. I think they're a lot more for like for me like more like a party game. Where I'd rather be playing with other people, than instead of being by myself. I definitely played a lot more often as a kid, when I was like thinking about being a wrestler before I actually like thought about it, and like definitely mess around like, ooh, what would I look like if I was a wrestler on it, But for me, I usually like those like nice, cool fantasy RPG games like your Dark Souls and Skyrims and all that.
I haven't gotten into Dark Souls, but played similar. You mentioned, like Hades. I think you brought my mind to God of War. That's one of my favorite, the series of all time. So
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about last night. You had a first time encounter with the Death Dealer, good friend of the podcast, and Dealer is very much a favorite in Waterloo. What was it like walking in and that crowd just kind of giving you all that heat, knowing that you were going up against?
Oh man, I mean, I came out and you could hear a pin drop. Nobody really liked me in there at all, which made my a little easier for me, a little easier night to not like them back. But he came out, got a little more of a pop than I expected, but we're gonna be done.
Are there any nerves before you go out to the ring? Any nerve or any nerves or any superstitions as you're getting ready to do your match?
I personally don't really carry any superstitions, but there's definitely always that little bit of a nervousness before you're out there. But I usually feel a nice like when I'm in my world, when I'm in like in that area, I feel calm and like level-headed almost. Whereas like I'm where I'm supposed to be, and what I'm supposed to be doing is this,
Excuse me.
When you play WWE 2K, I'm not the gamer of the two. CZ is clearly the gamer of the two, but I've played it a little bit. I've been around a little bit. Who are you? Do you create yourself, or do you play as some other wrestlers?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I'm picking, your AJs, your Finn Balor's, your Seth Rollins. But I like to grab that, a Shawn Michaels, here or two, or, if I'm feeling like an ass, grab an Andre or some kind of big guy, to just break the game a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. So you mentioned, playing like Shawn Michaels, things like what is your dream match? If you were, let's say you put yourself in 2K and you can face anyone and translate it into real life, who would you like to step in the ring with, past or present?
Oh man. Jesus. If I could pick anyone, I would say probably AJ, if I'm just gonna keep saying AJ all day, but
That's all right. There's
honestly,
nothing wrong with AJ Styles.
He's a revolutionary of the business, you know.
Yes.
You're not really getting too much out of wrestling without that guy. Also just like a incredible mind too. But literally anyone I could get with match with in that bracket whatsoever would be more than I could ever ask for.
Are you watching current product? What do you gravitate towards when you're excuse me?
I keep up with the current product as much as I can. I've been trying to catch up with, a lot of, past product because it's there's a lot of wrestling to watch for sure. So I got actually I don't even have it around me, but I do got some DVD sets up right now with like tag teams from the 90s, like the Hardys and all that. Some really cool stuff with like the Brood, or it was like singles matches. Watching a lot of Samoa Joe lately. He's insane. Any old ROH stuff, any old TNA stuff, I've just been really drawn to it. Where it's like these are the guys that like I want to wrestle like, and so it's like your Christopher Daniels and all that are just like phenomenal guys. So just watching them and kind of learning what they're doing and learning how they understand pro wrestling, because it's kind of helped me understand it myself.
You mentioned Joe and Ring of Honor. I'll give a throwback to one of our previous episodes of our other show, Wrestlebacks. We recently reviewed Joe and Kobashi. Have you had a chance to watch that match?
Yeah, with the Northern Lights suplex and all that, and to go through that side, yeah. That's a brawl for sure. Definitely some heavy hits there.
Going back off, talk a little bit about your match last night with the Death Dealer. Obviously, you didn't walk away with the W, but at the same time, you're in there with one of the big names of that company. We know we see you in SCW Pro. Will we be seeing you in APWs here in the future? Is this something that will be recurring in 2026?
Yeah, absolutely. Me and Mike have definitely talked a little bit. We're booking up some more shows here in the near future. The plan is to be at majority of all, if not almost all, the Waterloo shows with APW, if not half, if not a little more of the Algona shows too. To staying consistently with them would be really nice, And
I think that's a place. You can totally shine. Like it's great. We get to see you in our backyard here at SCW Pro. Don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing them no shame, but being able as a wrestler, you want more eyes on you, and you're getting more eyes on you, and that's a community. An organization up there that they love wrestling, and they're always looking, bringing different names in and stuff. So I think it's great for you. I was stoked when we got you on this show. Stoked to know that you were facing the Death Dealer, and we were going to get you the day after that match. But it's got to mean a lot to go out there and have they don't know you in that company. The fans don't know you yet, but you're in there with the Death Dealer. And so they definitely got to keep their eyes on that. I mean, that's got to mean something, even though you didn't walk out of there with the win. Yeah,
I mean, it definitely was a great match. Definitely, I think we had an absolute tear down. We kept saying watch out for match 2. You're not going to really keep up with it as much. But yeah, definitely working with APW is cool. I've brushed in with them a couple times. Had a couple singles, maybe like a tag or two. I actually had my first ever pro wrestling debut with them about 2 years ago today, just in their battle royal.
Sure.
So it's really cool just being in the future now where I'm having my singles matches on that card, for a company that I was on in the battle royal for.
Speaking of that battle royal, the Winter Brawl Classic was last night. You pulled double duty. You were not only facing the Death Dealer, but you were in that. You were in the Classic. What was that like?
Yeah, chaos. Definitely chaos.
It looked like
a lot of guys, and not really too much room to work around with. I don't think I could really see too much of the ropes. Probably just guys everywhere. I found Dealer in that. Almost threw him off. Almost got him that German over to the outside, but eating boots.
Do you have a different way to prepare for, say, a singles match versus like a Rumble type match?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with your singles matches, you're gonna be figuring out who you got, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are, figuring out, where can I, get my in, with your Rumbles, I'm always just hit anyone and everyone as hard as you can,
It was true chaos in that ring last night. There was a lot going on. And if you were there and in person, as a fan like CZ and myself, you definitely got your money's worth because there wasn't a shortage of action. There was plenty of people in that Winter Brawl Classic. Speaking with Dominik Zagreus here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the Atomic Sports Cards and Collectible Studios, powered by Lopez Pizza. What will we see? Will we see you coming up on SCW Pro shows? I know Epic is on the horizon.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be booked out a lot with SCW Pro. They're definitely my home promotion. My plan is to stick with them for a good long while until I can't really, stick with them. And then just find more and more shows to add onto that, monthly list.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have tagged with someone else we've had on the show, and that is Casey Jacks, correct? The Driftless, is that the name? Talk about your partnership with Casey and what that's like.
Oh man, Casey's definitely my road buddy. We travel a lot together. Most of the shows that he's going to, I'm going to. Most of the shows that I got, by myself, he's riding with me. Having him as like your my number one guy is definitely great. Helping me find other people, helping me find my way through wrestling in general. But just also working with him as a tag partner is amazing because, he knows a little thing or two, so learning off him is great.
Was tag team wrestling hard for you to pick up? Because they say a good tag team wrestler is a good singles wrestler. I would like to imagine that you were able to pick it up without any problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a different dance for sure, but the steps are kind of the same for figuring it out, where you need to be in the tag team wrestling, and just working with your partners. Just a different layer to the madness. But I think you can definitely have better tag team matches than people realize, because I think tag team wrestling is a little underrated.
Absolutely, you're preaching to the choir here. I love tag team wrestling, and it's a shame it's not really featured too much on the main stages anymore, or much at all. And there's so much behind. I love tag team wrestling because there's 4 moving parts, 5 if you count the ref, and sometimes there's 6 if there's a manager at the side. So much is going on, so much can happen, and that's why I've always loved tag team wrestling. You're right; it's underrated. It doesn't get done enough, in my opinion. I'm stepping off the soapbox now, CZ.
Dominik, you mentioned you talk about going back and watching a lot of older things. Now, have you found a show or a match that you can just watch on repeat on end?
Oh man, I don't know if I would say I could watch it on repeat, but definitely a match I don't really get sick of is the I Quit match, Bret Hart, Stone Cold. Definitely, if there's a match to show someone from pro wrestling that hasn't seen it, definitely one of those for sure. Or Pentagon Jr. versus Vampiro in Lucha Underground. Definitely that's a match you can turn on again.
I'm going to add that to my list because I haven't watched a lot of Lucha Underground. I've recently found a place where I can watch it, so I'm excited to get into it. But that hasn't been on my radar because I just haven't had a place to be able to watch it, and it wasn't something that was on the forefront when it was actually going on. So
it's some incredible stuff. Definitely, there's some unique things in that where I think I wish they would be done more often in the main card. With those bigger promotions, with your intergender wrestling and all that. But just having that to watch is really great.
I feel like you could have been in Lucha Underground, Dominik.
Yeah, maybe if I was born a little earlier.
I know, right? In a different world, but you would have fit in there, right?
Yeah, I would definitely love to if I could have gone back in time and in that time machine and gone back there. I think that would have been a great atmosphere that I would have loved to be in for sure.
Who are some of your favorites from Lucha Underground? Who do you follow there? Who do you pay the closest attention to there?
Definitely Pentagon. He's probably the reason why I started watching Lucha Underground personally. But otherwise, Johnny Mundo, or wherever he's currently going by.
Johnny Everything.
Yeah, Johnny
Everything.
Right?
But yeah, definitely that's some crazy wrestling in Lucha Underground that he's allowed to do.
You're obviously a wrestling fan outside of being a wrestler. Are you excited for WrestleMania? What are you excited for if you are excited for WrestleMania?
I'm just glad that we got old school Randy back. He's a little bigger now, but having that old school mentality with Randy is kind of nice to see instead of having him be a background character. He's Randy Orton. I'd like
I
to see him
agree.
in the forefront.
I agree. Like if we have to, if Randy Orton's going to be on the card and you're going to do it, like do it right, right? I think he works better as a heel. Although I don't like how they turned him heel, I'm not upset that he's the heel.
Yeah.
Did they make the right move by turning him heel in this scenario?
I think it works great with Randy. I think he's just in general a great wrestler to have, but I think there's a room to work with, and you're never really going to get 08 Randy every time. I think having an 08 Randy today is going to be different than 08 Randy and 08.
I mean, and the reason I ask that is because the fans just adore him, and everything he does, they're cheering. It doesn't feel like he's the bad guy in this scenario because of the crowd reaction.
Yeah. And I can definitely see that where it kind of hurts with I don't want to say the internet, but having the internet where you can be beloved, and then, go on to, your ring and get booed a little bit, like, we got him, and then still be beloved. And then you go back and, 20 years ago when pro wrestling, it's like, you didn't see the guy until you saw the guy in the ring. And it's like, that was your moment to be pissed off at him. He never heard anything from you again.
What's the match that you want to have in SCW that you haven't had yet?
Ooh, at SCW, I would say, man, there's a lot of guys in there. I think the Driftless could take on Risky Business.
Okay. I can get behind that.
I think if I can get, Casey to, come back over to my side, maybe leave Animosity, whatever they're doing over there, we could really, I think, take over the tag team in SCW.
I think fans would like that. I really do. I don't think they would turn down a shot to see, those four guys mix it up in tag team action. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Is there, let's expand that a little bit here. You mentioned, AJ Styles being your dream match. Is there someone on the indies that you've got your eye on that you would just love to step in the ring with?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it sucks that I don't know if it's even possible anymore, but, Warhorse, I would love to have a match with the Warhorse. I remember being, I think I was 18, maybe 17 at a Revolver one time. And I remember buying a lighter from Warhorse when I was a kid. And him telling me I can only do bad things with it. And now I still have the lighter and it's empty. So I love to, pull that lighter back out,
That's cool. Hey, that's a perfect question. I was going to say, do you collect anything wrestling wise, wrestling memorabilia, figures, cards, anything trip your trigger that way? Or what is your hobby outside of wrestling?
With wrestling, I like to collect, mostly shirts, honestly, signatures. I got some cards, My dad has bins of action figures for sure. My hobby is mostly just wrestling focused. So anything with wrestling, I like just pick up and watch at any moment. But with if it's not wrestling, I like anything dark fantasy, a little more occultish, your Dark Souls kind of stuff, or your Skyrim, where it's just fantasy in general. Just love any kind of cool dragon books, Aragon and Lord of the Rings and everything like that.
Okay.
Okay.
You mentioned collecting shirts, wrestling shirts. I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your favorite one that you have?
Oh man. I still have a Finn Balor shirt that's the magenta, with him, his face paint and everything.
Okay.
I might have some oldies, but they're all in my drawer right now.
No, that's okay.
You pull them out during WrestleMania, lay them all out. You go all right, which one? But definitely got my Legends shirt with your Stone Cold and Undertaker and I think there's Ultimate Warrior on it too, where that's a bunch of the Golden Age guys and some of the Attitude Era guys.
What is the 5-year plan for Dominik Zagreus? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I'm hopefully, driving 16 hours to a nice big show, having a crazy match, and then driving 16 hours back. My goal is to just get better at pro wrestling and expanding further and further. I don't have, I guess, a set destination. I just want to get better at pro wrestling, and I think it will follow me.
And obviously, we're watching you. We're watching you as you along your journey. I'm happy that we get to be a part of your journey by one, having you on the show, and two, being able to see me here in the Midwest. Being
for sure
an Iowa native. There's so much great wrestling here in Iowa, and here in just in the Midwest in general, between Iowa and Illinois. So many great places that you have been and you can go.
Yeah, definitely a good variety of not only just shows, but options of shows. You have your CSWs, your Revolvers, you have your smaller promotions like your Zawas and SCWs. So if you ever want to watch wrestling on the weekend in the Midwest, there's a show for sure within 3 hours.
That's what I love
we are blessed. We're blessed with a great spot with where we are. Plenty of independent wrestling to go out there and support. We're speaking with dangerous Dominik Zagreus here on the Card Subject to Change podcast, episode 244. Dominik, where can we see you in the next few weeks, next months coming up? Give us some dates and places where you'll be wrestling.
Yeah, April 4th I got Homegrown, and then I want to say April 23rd I'm back over at APW. We'll see what we got there, but I'm 90% sure. Just saw the poster up a little bit ago, but we got a 4-man over in Homegrown that had a little fun with the ZK and all that.
APW show you mentioned, is that an Algona show?
Should be the Waterloo show. If I double check, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the Waterloo show over on April 23rd.
So I know I'm planning on going to the May show, or I'm going to try and go to the May show in Waterloo, because I love those. I love going up to those shows. But aside from where we can find you in the ring, where can people find you if they want to follow you on social media?
Yeah, just mostly Instagram or Facebook. Instagram is just Dominik_Zagreus. You can find me there for sure. Same thing with Facebook, just Dominik Zagreus. I'll be right there.
Awesome. This happens once an episode, and Nick's probably going to kick me because my brain just dies.
I don't want to jump on you. Go ahead, man.
Go for it, Nick. If you got something.
Where, what's the biggest challenge for you that you see for yourself right now? And what's the biggest thing that's in the way of Dominik Zagreus from becoming what he wants to become?
Oh man. Skill wise, there's definitely a lot of work on, just understanding pro wrestling, moving better, learning new moves, but also just, talking to the crowd, getting connected with the crowd, whether that be positive reaction or negative reaction. I would say, the biggest thing stopping me from, becoming more of myself would be just time. I wish I had more time to wrestle. I wish I had more time to practice, more time to, get in that ring. But, it's not free, and you only get it one time, so.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And this may be the same. What advice would you give your younger self today?
Oh man. I feel like you're gonna hear this a lot, but everyone's gonna be saying slow down. I think that's probably the best advice I've heard in pro wrestling is slow down. Taking that moment in to look around you, taking the crowd, taking the people in front of you, and just know what you're doing. But if I could talk to myself, I would instantly be telling my younger self, start now. I feel like the earlier I could be starting pro wrestling, the better. I feel like I'm already, starting late here. I'm 23, 2 years in. But there's older cats than me, but I wish I'd be, 18, in the indies. But, we're here now.
You mentioned when you talk about slowing down, just feeling the moment. What's it like in the ring right before the bell starts? Are you in that moment? Can you hear the crowd, getting ready for the match? What is that first moment before the bell rings like for you?
It's definitely a little different, with my case usually being the guy gets a couple of those boos and a couple of those, nasty side eyes. It's a little more quiet for me, kind of like just getting ready for it. I'm waiting for that music to hit and hearing those some cheers erupt, and just staying dialed in and focusing on what I'm there to do.
Awesome. Well,
I'll tell you what, you sound wise beyond your years for being such a youngster in the business. Lots of years ahead of you. You seem like you've got it going in the right direction. You've got the right mindset. So that makes it a lot easier to cheer for you, man. You got a couple guys cheering for you here. So we're glad that you took some time out and were able to come into our little corner of the world and talk wrestling and let us bug you for a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and definitely down the road, come back on and we'll continue the conversation about where your journey's going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Nick, coming up for me, I know you're not going to be there, but I'm going to be in Oskaloosa this Saturday with our good friend Zach Takis, doing another pre-show podcast that we're calling Before the Bell. That'll be Saturday at 6. And we are taking Easter off.
Yep.
So we will not be here next week.
We'll both be looking for candy.
Well, I'm going on all those adult egg hunts.
That's right. You're going on all the adult Easter egg hunts. I'm just looking for some Reese's peanut butter cups. That's all I'm looking for.
Well, that's what we're all looking for.
That's right. That's right.
But when we do return, it will be April 12th. We have Herb Simmons from SICW coming in to talk about FanFest, which is coming up in May. Huge lineup of stars down in the St. Louis area. Nick and I will be down there. Looking forward to talking with Mr. Simmons about that FanFest coming up and picking his brain about wrestling because he's been around for quite some time.
Absolutely. Lots of big names at that show. If you can't make it, tune into the podcast. I'm sure we'll hear lots of good stories from Herb. Herb does some good things, and we're finally glad to get him corralled and put here in the Card Subject to Change so we can, not only talk about wrestling with him, but talk about this big event that's coming up here.
Absolutely. That is going to put a wrap on this episode of Card Subject to Change. Again, thank you to Dominik Zagreus for being a part of the show. We appreciate you coming on and look forward to having you back down the road. For my tag team partner, Mr. Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ, and we will see you in 2 weeks right back here on Card Subject to Change.